The following is from a book review and analysis video I made on Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. The book is an autobiographical account of Frederick Douglass's upbringing in slavery and his escape from slavery. This clip covers some of the many passages within that are full of valuable historical and philosophical information. Please enjoy, and may your conversations related to racism and the history of slavery be made better by watching. Now, there's only one passage in this next section that we're going to read, and this section is called The Terror of Freedom. This passage, I think, does a really good job of showing just how scary it was to be a fugitive slave, not knowing anyone, going to a different state and trying to, survive. This passage really kind of puts you in the shoes of Frederick Douglass whenever he did escape. So, without further ado, let's read. The motto which I adopted when I started from slavery was this: trust no man. I saw in every white man an enemy, and in almost every colored man cause for distrust. It was a most painful situation, and to understand it, one must needs experience it, or imagine himself in similar circumstances. Let him be a fugitive slave in a strange land, a land given up to be the hunting ground for slaveholders, whose inhabitants are legalized kidnappers, where he is every moment subjected to the terrible liability of being seized upon by his fellow men, as the hideous crocodile seizes upon his prey. I say, let him place himself in my situation, without home or friends, without money or credit, wanting shelter and no one to give it, wanting bread and no money to buy it, and at the same time let him feel that he is pursued by merciless men-hunters, and in total darkness as to what to do, where to go, or where to stay, perfectly helpless both as to the means of defense and means of escape, in the midst of plenty, yet suffering the terrible gnawings of hunger, in the midst of houses, yet having no home, among fellow men, yet feeling as if in the midst of wild beasts, whose greediness to swallow up the trembling and half-famished fugitive is only equaled by that which the monsters of the deep swallow up the helpless fish upon which they subsist. I say, let him be placed in this most trying situation, the situation in which I was placed, and then, and not till then, will he fully appreciate the hardships of, and know how to sympathize with, the toil-worn and whip-scarred fugitive slave. I mean, that's kind of like an enough said passage there. I mean, it speaks for itself. But, he says there, like, he couldn't trust anyone. White people, some of them might be nice, or they could literally be kidnappers who are going to throw him back in slavery. Colored people, they could be hired by kidnappers to lure a colored man into a dark alley where he is kidnapped and then shipped back into slavery. And it's just like such a horror, it's just like a scary passage, just like the level of anxiety and paranoia that he must have experienced must have been like overwhelming. Suffice to say, he did end up finding friends, and I also got to touch on, this book does not really go into how Frederick escaped, because he did not want to give away the means of escape to kidnappers and slaveholders. He did not want other slaves to have who took a similar route as him to suddenly be caught, because slave owners and kidnappers will have been made aware of it by reading Frederick Douglass's book. And so he chose specifically to not include the precise details of how he escaped, but he did include the precise details of, once he had escaped, how he found the abolitionist movement and how he found his calling in life. I feel like somebody needs to make a movie on Frederick Douglass, on this book, and they need to make, a scene where he's in freedom, doesn't know anybody, and it's like slow motion, seeing white faces that are smiling, but that have like a tinge of like deceit behind them, and then seeing fellow blacks who kind of are the same way, and then seeing people that seem perfectly genuine and nice, and just have the scene where Frederick is like, I don't know who to trust, I don't know what to do. Because that motto, trust no man, that was a good motto to have for him.